Do you guys know how long I have had these two standing here with this exclamation point just waiting for me to start this finale? I have been putting this off for quite a while. Just been ignoring these two, to be able to do this. And I am eager to do this, don't get me wrong. I've been waiting to do this. For the record, just letting you guys know up front, I do know what happens. Okay, I have seen this whole sequence and such. Not entirely, though, but I do know, the big stuff that happens. So, just in case you were hoping for a legit first-time reaction. So, anyways, let's do this. I'm eager to get, underway and show this finale to you guys for a number of reasons. And, of course, some of it will be pretty clear and evident once we experience that. And, of course, some of it I will absolutely have to talk about. So,
Baladash Malanore.
Niximus, we must speak of the Horde and the War Chief. The war has proven costly. I can't help but, imagine as if I'm, talking like Fenris from Dragon Age 2. I mean, it's the same voice actor. The war has proven costly, and the battle against the Jara drained what little resources that we had left. The Horde is divided once more, and the Alliance fares little better than we do. Sylvanas is now in a position to destroy everyone that she considers an enemy, and that means us as well. I had hoped that my old friend would see reason, but now, High Overlord Saurfang is rallying those of us who remain, including some unlikely allies. Remember, he and Sylvanas were friends for a long time, back when she was a High Elf.
Aldiel Shalah, I greet you on behalf of Sylvanas.
Alright. What is Saurfang's plan? Cutscene!
We are a nation.
Anduin, Sylvanas' actions have threatened us all, and day by day, her power grows. If our world is to survive, we must strike while we still can. Meet with me, and we will speak.
So few.
How many can you provide?
Enough for one final assault. If that fails, we're done. If we end her reign, what kind of war chief will you be?
The Horde I joined was birthed in blood, tainted by corruption. The road that led to the Dark Portal was long and wide, paved with the bones of innocence.
Wow, those
We
Draenei.
called it the Path of Glory. That was the great lie upon which the Horde was founded. That anything we did was honorable. Thrall, Rosen, they were not the true heirs to Blackhand's bloody legacy. Sylvanas Windrunner is.
And Garrosh.
No, this is the Horde, led by you. Someone who has
Honor. I've never known honor. They deserve more. But the Horde is doomed to be shackled by the chains of the past.
The Horde has no exclusive claim to regrets. Arthas, Dalen, the ghosts of the past haunt us as well.
We could not fill the chasm between the Horde and Alliance if we labored 1,000 years. You know this.
Then what are we fighting for?
Soldiers, on your feet!
Start breaking camp immediately!
Lord Saurfang?
Zakan, where is our home?
Orgrimmar?
Not our city. Our home.
Azeroth.
Azeroth.
And ours?
Azeroth.
Right now, There are only two forces in this world that matter. One bent on harming our world.
And one that will protect her.
So, what are we doing?
Breaking the cycle.
Yeah. Gosh, I love that cutscene. Alright, so before I have the Lystra teleport us to Orgrimmar, we gotta talk about that cutscene. First off, I want to clarify something in case there are any of you confused as to why it is that Valera is basically with Anduin and the Alliance. Because some of you may be going, but she's a blood elf. Shouldn't she be part of the Horde? The thing is, she doesn't care about that at all. And the thing is to remember, Valera was pretty close friends with Varian. So it makes perfect sense that she would basically be not just a friend, but basically a bodyguard for Anduin. Because why wouldn't she be? So I just want to point that little tidbit out there. Oh my goodness, there's so much, so much about that cutscene, the dialogue that I want to talk about. You know, like, I like that when Anduin asks him, what kind of war chief would you be? He just gives him this look like, what makes you think I'm going to be a war chief? That I'm going to be the next war chief? As if that's what I would want. Now, we of course know Sourfangs, he's never wanted that. To which many of us have said that's a good reason why he should be. Because he's someone who doesn't want it. Sometimes those who don't, like, grab for power or be like, I'm the one who should be in charge. Like, those are usually not the ones you want in charge. You know, almost like Garrosh. But then again, Thrall just kind of gave Garrosh that. But, you know, you could see, even back in Wrath, remember in the Wrath launch event, that Garrosh was like, I should be the war chief, because I would head to Northrend and destroy the Scourge, if I was the war chief, and I should be. And he challenged Thrall to Mok Gorah, so that he could be war chief. So he wanted that power, even though Thrall just gave it to him in Cataclysm. But anyways, my point is that Sourfang was one who was like, no, and I don't want to be leader. It's like, no. He didn't desire power. And sometimes those who don't desire the power are the ones you actually want to have it to be enabled to actually do good, because you can tell they're the ones that you would actually trust with that kind of power, with those kinds of decisions. Sourfang's speech about what happened with the road to the Dark Portal, the road to glory, the innocence. I mean, he's right. If you have done your research on a couple of the different books about what happened back in even before the events of Warcraft 1, a couple of books I could recommend are Warcraft Chronicles Volume 2, which is specifically on what happened on Draenor amongst the orcs, the ogres, the Draenei, and the Burning Legion. Because remember, Kil'jaeden and the Burning Legion had a big hand in what happened with the orcs and the Draenei that had them become the Horde, with Gul'dan and Blackhand and Ner'zhul and Velen and Durotan and Orgrim Doomhammer, all that. So Sourfang is absolutely right. He was one of those there, along with Eitrigg. He's one of those old orcs who's like, I was there long ago, and he remembers. And I've been reading that book, Rise of the Horde, and I have read Volume 2 of Chronicles. Yeah, a lot of Draenei, innocent Draenei, did die because of that back then. That was a different Horde back then. So he's right. I do want to comment on something, though, that I've heard some people kind of criticize. Anduin jumping to that the Alliance are haunted by the past of Arthas and Dalen. And I've heard some people argue against that. I mean, I think the funny thing is, at the time of this recording, they just announced that the release date for Warcraft 3 Reforged is going to be January 28th, 2020, which I'm so glad that finally we're getting an actual release date for it. So, now if you want a little bit more on Dalen, we of course delve into it a bit when we play Alliance in Kultiris, and we'll show that. I'll show that at some point. But I also have a playthrough of the original Warcraft 3 up on my channel, so if you want to see the campaign where we play as Rexar and see what happened with Dalen, you'll understand why we basically had, why what the Horde did in defense against him was kind of justified, and why at that point he was basically a bit of a fanatic who was obsessed with genociding the Horde at that point. And then, of course, we know what happened with Arthas. But then again, remember, the characters in Warcraft lore don't know the entire full story about what happened with Arthas and the whole thing of that once he pulled Frostmourne, his soul got trapped in Frostmourne, and then a separate entity that I have, along with some other people, have named Death Knight Arthas, because it was basically the same thing from StarCraft, where you had two separate entities in Kerrigan and the Queen of Blades. So it's basically the same thing. And basically, the things that Death Knight Arthas did, everyone thought it was just Arthas, without realizing, no, Arthas was not evil. He didn't become evil and did those horrible things. That was a separate entity in his body that we have dubbed Death Knight Arthas, who then became, of course, the second Lich King when he put that helm on. But it's easy to understand why the Alliance would feel basically almost responsible for that, since he was part of Lordaeron and part of the human kingdoms. So, and I love that they basically have decided, you know what? It's like, Starfang's like, yeah, after all that's happened, we couldn't be able to fill the chasm. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but there's always going to be characters on both sides that no matter what, they will always hate the other faction. It's just a fact, unfortunately. But I love that at that point they're just like, it's time to stop. It's time to unite, because our home is not our faction cities. Our home is this planet, which we all share. As I love that they all say, where's our home? Azeroth. It's like Varian used to say, for Azeroth, which was a big thing in Legion. Which is why it was so frustrating to go from Legion to BFA, where we went from uniting and for Azeroth against a common foe like the Burning Legion to let's hate the other faction again. It was just such a type of thing. It was so frustrating. So let's just say I was ecstatic when I saw that cutscene. They were saying we're gonna break the cycle of this hate between the Alliance and the Horde, and instead just be together and fight for Azeroth. Now, sadly, this does not mean that the faction thing is coming to an end, because, as they said at this recent BlizzCon when they were talking about Shadowlands, they were asked about the faction thing, and they were like, and Eden was like, we actually think the Horde and the Alliance is a core, integral part of what makes World of Warcraft World of Warcraft. I, of course, disagree on that. That doesn't have to be a thing in story and in lore. It can stay in the game, gameplay-wise, PvP and such, with, like, rogue factions who have disbanded from the actual Alliance and Horde because they are so hateful towards the other faction, they don't care anymore about staying with their faction. They just want to kill the other one. And that's how you can have PvP in this game. I mean, for goodness sakes, that was something that, could be done in the Guild Wars games. But no, apparently that has to stay a part of the game, in the story, no matter what, which is incredibly infuriating, but anyways. So, that's what I wanted to comment on, so let's now take us to Razor Hill.
Be careful who you...
Let's go dethrone Sylvanas, shall we? I wonder what this was like for some Alliance players. That, some, of course, that world PvP and such, they probably come here all the time. It's real sad when I find out about players that they'll come here with a max level Alliance character or a max level Horde character in like Elwyn, and they'll just camp and kill lobies. It's just such a horrible, disgusting thing. Look at this. Okay, I'm sorry. This is awesome. Look at this. we have forces from both sides. We have all these orcs. We have tons of dwarves. We have Darnassian archers, which of course makes sense. We have, night elves. We have Alliance guards. We have both Alliance and Horde here combined, working together. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. This is what I'm talking about right here. Verisa and Illyria. Hello. Chandris Feathermoon, Jaina, Anduin, Matthias Shaw, Thrall, Zakan, and Varrock. Awesome. I guess I'll have to... I'm definitely curious as to how much Chandris Feathermoon has gotten this much of a spotlight, just almost out of nowhere. But I'll be honest with you guys. I'll be real honest with you. If we're going to have almost any night elf here representing the night elves, I'm glad it's Chandris and not Tyrande. Or even Malfurion, to be honest. I'm pretty sure those two are still up in Darkshore. And yeah, let's just say right now, Tyrande is not someone you want here. Now, I would love, which night elf I would love to see here? If, amongst, who I consider one of the better night elves? Oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name. It's Maev's brother. The guy that we helped rescue her in Val'Sharah. Shadow Song. I'm blanking on his name. But you guys know what I'm talking about. Maev's brother. That guy. That guy's awesome. And I kind of wish he was here. Oh, hey, look. A Draenei mage. Hello. I like that we're just basically, here together. That here in Razor Hill, you can, this is, one of the only times an Alliance character can come to Razor Hill and not be immediately attacked by guards. It's a rare instance, but still.
I serve the Horde.
So do I, Sarafang. We have much to do, Niximus. The Banshee moves swiftly. By the way, you notice that Greymane isn't here? Interesting.
Sylvanas' loyalists have collapsed part of the canyon path to Orgrimmar. Our forces are now cut off from each other. We need to reinforce our front line, or the Banshee will pick us off at her leisure. We have come too far to be slain by 1,000 cuts. Gazlo and one of the Alliance's gnomes believe that they have an answer. You'd best ensure that their plan does not backfire.
Clear the pass of boulders, mines, and obstructions between Razor Hill and Orgrimmar.
To die today on the field of battle
King Rin,
is to die
may we
an
speak?
orcish death.
Our sister is patient. She knows we have precious few soldiers left. While we lay siege to Orgrimmar, she will whittle away our numbers. But Sylvanas is not the only threat we face. The old god has been freed. I can hear his whispers, sense his unseen tendrils writhing all around us.
I know, Illyria. What are you suggesting?
Sylvanas commands what may be the only army capable of defeating Nazarth. For the sake of Azeroth, perhaps we should stand aside and let her.
Your sister will not fight for us, Illyria. When Sylvanas realized the war was on the cusp of ending, she lured both fleets into Ajara's hands. Not to find victory, but to meet death.
In the end, death claims us all. Eitrig told me those were among the last words Sylvanas spoke to Vol'jin.
We cannot wage two wars. Sylvanas must fall. Here. Now. Before all is lost.
It shall be so, my king. Verisa and I will scout her line for weaknesses. Good luck to all of us.
Let's see. Aha! Hey, we've sifted the mine bot 5,000. Possible my incredible genius. Anyway, improvements made possible by my incredible genius. Anyway, this baby should be able to clear out anything in its path. Mines, boulders, and some skulking assassins. Crosswires and Tinkmaster over Spark. I almost thought Mechatork was going to be here, but I think he's still recovering from what happened in the Battle of Dazar lore. I love Gazlo. Always have. And I think he will have a bit of a spotlight here by the end of this. But anyways, because you'll notice Gazlo is here and not Gallywix. We'll touch on that by the end of this. Just keep that in mind. Remember that. Alright. So we've got Boulder Annihilation and Zaps! Ah! Boom! 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 Hey, get away from that! Ah! Bring the traitors to justice! Ah! Alright, that's all the landmines. And all the boulders. Scum, I'll kill you! Ah! Oh, hold on, what's this? Self-destruct. Oh, they respawned, like, immediately. Self-destruct. Hey, would you look at that? The way's clear. Of course it is. Noma's technology never fails. The day was saved thanks to Tinkmaster Overspark's unmatched ingenuity. Yeah, whatever. Let's just get to the front. Oh. Take the wyvern to the front. Okay. As if I've never discovered Durotar before. Gosh, another Siege of Orgrimmar. People joked about it, but when you look at this, how can you not kind of like go, yeah, it is. I mean, look at this. We have both Alliance and Horde siege towers. Well, hello there. There's Greymane.
Drumka. Well met.
My mistakes have been many, and they have led me here once again. I do not know what the future will bring, but I will not hide from it. I will fight for the Horde.
Let Tana guide your path.
Swift action saved our soldiers' lives, but there is still more to do.
3 separate quests here.
The Banshee spies were able to sneak past our guards in the chaos of the rock slides. They've been planting bombs on our siege weaponry. Get rid of those bombs.
8 suspicious crates.
Sylvanas still commands the loyalty of many within the Horde. The war that she started has blinded them with rage and hatred. She exploits that to maintain her support. They do not yet see that she will lead us to ruin, that her so-called victories are all hollow. Some of her agents have been spotted lurking within our ranks. Kill them. They will show us no mercy, and we will have none in return. Considering what we know about Shadowlands, yeah. For years, I guarded the gates of Orgrimmar. Going back to vanilla. Oh, sorry. The city's greatest weakness has always been its multiple entrances. We should strike at all of them to seize victory. Rin and I have drawn up orders for deployment. The mages will cover our flank. Greymane will close in from the west, and the elves will take the north. We will send Mela to reinforce Thunderbluff's defenses in case Sylvanas launches a counterattack. Bring the orders to our commanders. I like that we're having Mela help, and the High Mountain help defend the Tauren and Thunderbluff. It makes perfect sense. I'm telling you, Mela and Bane. Mela and Bane. Make it happen.
Again, we need you and your best soldiers to flank the city from the western gate.
And leave you here unguarded with them? If I wanted to harm him, I'd have done it in the stockades.
No one knows Orgrimmar's defenses better than Sourfang. We need to trust each other if we are to succeed.
Very well. But the Banshee is clever. Dividing our forces might play right into her hands.
I mean, it's obvious that there's one main thing that Greymane wants while he's here. He doesn't really care about the Alliance and Horde. He just cares about killing Sylvanas. And also destroying the Forsaken, because he's very biased against the undead, but he mainly wants to kill Sylvanas. Oh, hey, look! We've got Jaina and Thalyssra, which of course makes perfect sense. I like that we see a bunch of Nightborn battle mages and then a bunch of 7th Legion battle mages. This is great. I'm sorry, I'm loving seeing this unification of both Alliance and Horde forces together, matching up like this, because it makes sense! And it's just so cool.
Our isolation has ended.
Never did I expect to fight in another rebellion, least of all against the war chief. Yeah, she remembers what this was like back in Suramar. I showed that to you guys. Saurfang has tasked you and the Lord Admiral with shielding our army against magical assaults.
We are only as strong as a wise decision. We can do so more effectively from higher ground. Lord Admiral, might I ask about the spellcraft you employed at Lordaeron? The levitating warship?
Would you believe me if I told you it was a Koltiran trade secret?
Summoning the ship, perhaps. But as for the enchanted cannons...
That reminds me of when Oculus and Khadgar were talking, and Oculus was like, you teleported an entire city? And Khadgar's like, well, I did have help. See, I love that. I love seeing them, like, get together.
Suspicious. Get him! We're apparently suspicious. Somehow.
I guess because the crates, and it's like,
They're suspicious! Get him!
I like how the guards immediately come and help me. Ah! A loyalist assassin! Aha. Come on, over here. Time is money, friend. Hey, Lorthamar.
The eternal sun still guides us.
Oh, I want that mount. I'm pretty sure that's one of the mounts that I can get in Darkshore. And I still haven't gotten those. I really want to get those. I think there's 2 different ones. Sarfang and King Rin have assigned your forces to the northern gate.
We find strength in the Horde. So, we are to strike from the north. A sound plan. But there is no telling what treachery Sylvanas has in store for us.
She fought beside you for many years, both in life and in undeath. You must know her well.
Perhaps I did, long ago. But now... Our forces are few in number. We must make use of the surrounding terrain when we assault the gate.
The Sentinels have made use of that terrain for millennia. Our knowledge of the land was old when the Farstriders were young.
Yes, of course.
And of course, both the Night Elves and the Blood Elves would be working together. Again, makes perfect sense when it comes to a pairing. Because of course it would. Whereas I don't have these tracked. Come on. Ugh. Work with me. Work with me. Here's Mela.
All of High Mountain stands with you, champion.
High Chieftain, you have been tasked with defending the skies above Thunderbluff.
Our tribes stand as one.
There is little my Eagle Riders can do while Sylvanas controls the skies. But we can still defend Thunder Bluff. G is already there, tending to Bane's wounds. He said he has seen Orgrimmar under siege once before, and does not wish to relive it. We will stand beside our Tauren kin, and await further orders from Sarfang. Earth Mother, watch over us all.
I like that little nod of what happened to G back in the Siege of Orgrimmar raid, because why would he want to relive that? That was awful. Crate right there. Hey! Guards, help me! Hey, there's another one right here. Alright. That's all 3.
Speak quickly, and speak the truth.
No matter what our strategy, taking Orgrimmar will be no easy task. I should know. We both have blood on our hands. Today we will see that it has not been in vain. Well done. We cannot afford to lose any more of our weaponry to Sylvanas' treachery. It is time. We have done all that we can to prepare. All that remains is the battle itself. I am not one for speeches, so I will say only this. Loktar Ogar, Niximus. Victory or death.
Begin the battle at the gates of Orgrimmar.
In battle, strategy is as
I am ready
important as strength.
for the Horde. Time for an awesome cinematic.
Varrock, it's time. Those who defend Orgrimmar are Horde as well. Our brothers and sisters.
These warriors have sworn to fight. For you. Many lives will be lost.
Or perhaps just one. Sylvanas Windrunner! I challenge Mak'gora!
A traitor leading traitors. Why should I accept your challenge?
You want to make me suffer.
Notice that she just smirks at that. Like, well, of course I do.
Brother, you cannot win.
My old friend. You and I.
We don't get to hide.
I set you on this path.
And we knew where it could lead. Walk with me. The rest of the way.
Wow. Yes, the symbolism is obvious, but I don't care. That's awesome. And notice it stays lit while Varrock wields it. That's kind of symbolic as well.
Let it be finished.
That's what his son said.
The High Overlord falls. I trusted you. And so did they. Death comes, old soldier. And all their hope dies with you.
You cannot kill hope. You tried at Teldrassil. You failed. Hope remains. You set us to kill each other at Lordaeron. You failed. Here we stand. You just keep failing. The Horde will endure. The Horde is strong.
The Horde is nothing!
Excuse me?
You are all nothing!
For Azeroth!
If you could see yourselves as I see you. Toy soldiers in tin plate. Beasts who howl for honor. Standing as one. Savor it. Nothing lasts.
What do we do now?
we bring him home.
Akamagosh, Varrock Sourfang. For those of you who don't know, I actually just re-looked it up just to remind myself. That is Orcish for a blessing on you and yours. It's basically the closest thing I could find to rest in peace. Oh my goodness. Awesome cinematic. That was a 6-minute cinematic. People were hearing about it. There's gonna be a 6-minute cinematic in the finale. They were like, oh, what is it gonna be? And apparently Blizzard tried really hard to make sure people didn't data mine it, so they didn't spoil it before it came out. So, again, we gotta talk. Oh my goodness. So much, as I've said before, the cinematic team at Blizzard is incredible. That group of people that works on those cinematics, they are some of the most talented people in the industry, because oh my gosh, name me one cinematic they have done that was actually bad quality. I can't think of one, because every single cinematic they have put out for all their games have always been high quality, top-notch quality. People have said, just make a movie based on their cinematics. Because, well, why would you not want to watch a movie with those kinds of cinematics, right? Oh my gosh, so good. Such good quality. I love that Varrock. It makes so much sense that he would be like, those are still our brothers and sisters of the Horde. Now, as a Horde player, this, someone who mains Horde, I do play both factions, but as someone who mains Horde, who has mained Horde for a long time, this obviously is a little bit more meaningful for a player like me than I think to an Alliance player. I doubt an Alliance player would have as much connection or meaning to this as a Horde player would. But hearing him talk about how he looks up and he doesn't see his enemies, he sees his brothers and sisters. And he decides, rather than a big battle to take back Orgrimmar, we're going to settle this with just one fight, and challenges Sylvanas to Makara. And it just makes so much sense, and that he would do that, and for his character that he would challenge her to that. I do find, I was a little surprised that rather than her just asking him at the top of the gate, that she actually came out of the gate. And I think at that point, it was obvious she was going to accept, because why else would she just immediately come out of the gate if she wasn't planning to accept the challenge in the first place? And of course, he nailed, that he gave her that answer, and then she just smirks like, well, yeah, so of course I'm going to do that. The whole, the bit with him and Thrall was great, because they're, those two have known each other for so long. How long have, well, maybe not as long as Sourfang has known, Eitrig and such, because Thrall wasn't really around until after the events of War of the Clans, when he was able to break free of Blackmoor and be able to find Drekthar, who helped him learn to be a shaman, and then he freed the orcs from the camps. Then, at that point later on, is when Thrall was able to meet Sourfang and the rest of the Horde and kind of rally them. But they have still known each other. That was a long time ago. So they've still known each other for a very long time. The gesture of Anduin handing his father's sword, Charlemagne, to Sourfang is, I obviously I already said it's obvious symbolism, but still, it's awesome, but it's also awesome for something else I didn't find out until recently. So you notice how Charlemagne will glow depending on who holds it and at what times. Now, I think someone pointed this out. I think it was Pyro apparently, he's also someone who's been into lore and he, looks into these things. You notice that when Varian would wield Charlemagne, it would glow orange because he's a warrior and it represented rage. Because, of course, at times Varian was a straight-up warrior. I mean, he was the one who would be able to split Charlemagne in half and use it as a fury warrior. Because what does a warrior in lore in the game use as a resource? Rage. So that would make sense. You notice that while Anduin has had it, it's been glowing gold. More representative of him being people still argue he's a priest. I say, no, he's a paladin, because in lore, a paladin is a priest who received combat training and martial training. That's what a paladin is in lore. They used to be priests. That's what they were. So anyway, regardless of that, I find it interesting and actually like that it stayed glowing in Varroc's hands. I think that speaks a bit to how Charlemagne reacts to the hold of Saurfang, and I love that Varroc is the only other one that we have seen actually be able to split Charlemagne like that, like Varian used to. I thought that was something only Varian could do. Nope, because Varroc did it. And again, I want to point out what he said. Before he faced Sylvanas, he said, "Let it be finished." Remember, that's what his son said to the Lich King at the Wrathgate. You guys remember that, right? So fitting he would say that. It's actually not that surprising that Sylvanas would be able to actually kind of be a little faster than him and be able to beat him and just kind of whittle him. But of course she had blades that clearly had stuff on it like poison or whatever to try and weaken him. But of course Varroc just fights back and gives her that speech, which I loved, by the way. There was so much truth in that speech. And then he cuts her eye. And then Sylvanas does something that is actually makes sense for her character. Because as guys like Bellular has pointed out, Sylvanas has always had a lot of insecurities. And she's always had a tendency to lose her composure at times and just kind of snap and say what she really feels when she's lost her cool and she's no longer composed. When she gets frustrated, that's when she slips. When Varroc gave her that speech and then cut her, she lost her cool and it slipped. And of course, that one Forsaken just kind of looks at her like, "What did you say?" Now, after that, I think what she then said next was actually more kind. She realized, okay, I've lost this, so I'm just going to go all out. And I'm just going to, be full-on villain now, saying they're all nothing. And then she cheats and just straight up kills Saurfang, just straight up murders him with that blast. Now, that was the first time we saw that kind of power from her. Now, if you have seen the Shadowlands cinematic and the tease for it, you'll probably get a better understanding as to why she all of a sudden has this power that she used just now. And then she just kind of flies away, Just basically like, yeah, forget all you. I love that it wasn't just Thrall and Zakan carrying Varroc into Orgrimmar, but it was also Anduin. Again, more symbolism of Alliance and Horde, working together, putting our differences aside. This war is coming to an end. We're going to have peace because it's time to stop fighting each other and start fighting together. Fantastic cinematic. Absolutely love it. So we have another bit coming up. Now, from what I understand, this bit is different based on if you sided with Saurfang or if you actually remain loyal to Sylvanas. And I'm actually kind of tempted to show you the cutscene if you remain loyal to Sylvanas, because she does say a couple things that are interesting, which we then find out, when, they announce Shadowlands, it's like, oh, now it makes sense. So, I might show that little cutscene afterwards. I haven't just fully decided on it yet, but let's have our next bit, which I believe is now going to be a funeral for Varroc Saurfang.
I proudly serve as Regent Lord.
Saurfang, slain by dark magic. I have known that Sylvanas for years, yet I've never seen her wield such power. Why reveal it to us now? What does she gain by abandoning the Horde?
Again, Shadowlands.
Whatever she has planned, it would seem that she no longer requires the Horde to achieve it. Nope, she does not.
That is, at the time we were like, oh gosh, what's going to happen? Now that we've seen the Shadowlands stuff, all this makes so much more sense and becomes a lot more clear.
We will need to be cautious. There is no telling what her next move will be. Saurfang, Thrall will wish to honor Saurfang's sacrifice, and so shall the rest of us. Recall our forces, let them know what has transpired. Tell them that the great warrior Varrock Saurfang is dead, and that the war chief has abandoned us. Speak to Bane when you arrive in Thunderbluff. You will find him on the Elder Rise. I am certain that he will want to pay his respects to Saurfang as well. Let us stand as a united horde once more.
The light of the Sunwell be with you.
Regent Lord, what manner of magic did Sylvanas use against Saurfang?
I had hoped either you or Thalysra would have the answer to that question. I have never seen her wield such power.
It was unlike any magic I have ever encountered. I could sense none of it, even in her presence.
Then she must have only recently acquired it, or simply waited until now to reveal it.
Either way, it does not bode well for us. Whatever she is planning, she no longer needs the Horde to achieve it.
Okay, that's that. So it looks like they are not going to give me a transport or like something to fly there. So I'll just go ahead and fly there. And I'll just go ahead and fly on my more recent rare mount that I got, just to show it off a bit, because let's just say I'm glad I don't have to constantly go after Ragnaros all the time now that I finally have this mount. Such an awesome, gorgeous mount. And I was glad to find out that if you did the anniversary event, and if you did it multiple times, because, once you get the mount, that's fine, but you can keep doing it if you want to get other rewards, including, if you do the BC one, you can get Ashes of Alar. If you do the Wrath one, you can get Invincible, and if you do the Cataclysm one, you can get this mount. So, let's just say I'm glad I have all three of those. But it was awesome to see that drop. Also, not only that, doing that event also counted as time walking, so it also allowed the Infinite Time Reaver to drop. I know because when I did the anniversary event to get the Deathwing mount, the Infinite Time Reaver dropped for someone else. This mount right here. It dropped for someone else, and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!" It's so great to see a rare mount like that drop for someone else. Once you already have it, because then you can see someone else be able to have that kind of reaction and just kind of enjoy having that mount in the same manner that you were able to. So yeah, being able to collect some of these mounts, I'm pretty happy about. Guess I hadn't fully uncovered the Northern Barrens. It is kind of, look at the split here, the Great Divide. I will say, when I was messing around with WoW Classic, it was kind of cool to be able to go around the Barrens here and be able to oh man, look at the difference, I will say this, the skies, look at those clouds. Those clouds, both in Retail WoW and in WoW Classic are not exactly top-notch. I will say the moon looks pretty decent. There's the seat of the Pantheon. Just a reminder, that's not necessarily just representing the Pantheon. That's supposed to be Sargeras's heart. And the developers have said, if that ever disappears, that's bad. That's very bad. It also was cool coming here to Thunderbluff in Classic, because here at this spot in particular, it was cool seeing certain characters here from back then, such as, like, I believe here was Magatha Grim Totem, ugh. But other characters like, you know,
It
Moan,
pains
Earth,
me to remain here, while others fight on the front line.
You have done more than your part, Bane. Focus on your recovery.
Champion, has the battle been won?
Hey, G. But Muln as well. That's who actually I was referring to. Not Muln, but Hamul. My bad. But yeah, Hamul was, you know, I found him here in Classic. I was like, oh, look, it's Hamul. Awesome. So, and of course, Hamul is one of the, you know, I actually like Hamul more than Malfurion. But I'm telling you, Mela, Bane, make this happen.
I am Bane, son of Cairn.
It is good to see you, but if you're here, then the battle must already be over.
Saurfang challenged Sylvanas to Mak'gora. And then...
We are stronger together, Saurfang. He risked his life to save mine, and gave his life to save the Horde. Go, champion. We will meet you in Orgrimmar to honor the memory of Varrock Saurfang.
Okay. Alright, so I flew here on the Firehawk. What do I fly back on? Let's go ahead and... I mentioned the Time Weaver. Let me show it off. Gosh, that's awesome. Turn the game back down a bit. But yeah, it was not only great to also, you know, see like Hamul and such, and even Bane, like at that first village, because of course I messed around making like a Tauren. I made like a Tauren warrior, and it was cool seeing Bane at that first village. And then you go to Thunderbluff, you see Hamul, you see Magatha, I mentioned, and then you see Cairn, and oh, I was so happy to see Cairn. It was so great seeing Cairn, and it makes me wish he was here. Imagine how different things could have been had Cairn won that fight against Garrosh. Just take a moment to consider what that would have been. For one thing, that would have meant that Cairn would have been the war chief instead of Garrosh. Now take a moment to think about how different things could have been if that had happened. You know, it's like Thrall said in Cataclysm, Cairn was my brother. I don't know about you, but when I have re-seen that quest that you do, you know the one in Cataclysm where the elements like capture Thrall and split him into the 4 different elements. When you go to the Firelands and you hear what he says, like representing his inner rage and anger and frustrations, that was like eye-opening. The other ones were kind of like, okay, you know, but the one in the fire, that part in the Firelands, oh man, some of those things he said, it's like, oh my gosh, this is how Thrall really feels, and he's been keeping this bottled up. Oh my gosh, you know, especially that line. And it's not that he said it, it's how he said it. It's how, you know, the angry shouts at the top of his lungs, how angry he was. Cairn was my brother. And I can't, you know, be able to repeat it, you know, or redo how he said it. You guys gotta just look it up and check it out.
The rebuilding continues.
Cao Fang's death will not be in vain. No matter what anyone says, he was an honorable orc, a legend in his own right, the ideal to which all warriors of the Horde aspired. He gave his life to heal the rift in the Horde and give us the chance to forge a new path forward. He was more than a death befitting a warrior. It was the death of a hero. We shall honor his sacrifice.
I proudly serve as Regent Lord.
Thrall awaits us within Orgrimmar. We will take this moment to honor Cao Fang before we regroup. N'Zoth is now our primary concern. Yeah, no kidding. Should we survive the Old God's machinations, we will then turn our attention to those of Sylvanas. Again, Shadowlands.
What I do for Quel'Thalas.
Varrock Sarfang, son of Koruk, supreme commander of the might of Kalimdor, high overlord of the Horde. He led the charge against the Lich King. He defended our world from the Legion. Sarfang inspired all of us to strive for true honor, and his legacy will live on in our deeds.
When the Alliance and Horde marched on Ahn'Qiraj, it was Saurfang who valiantly commanded our combined forces. Today, his courage saved thousands of lives on both sides of the battle. His sacrifice will never be forgotten.
You have earned your warrior's death, old friend. Now, greet your son with honor and glory.
Thanks, Jaina. We'll see you later. So... Lady Liadrin, Rexar, Garona. I was like, what? Why is that there? Oh, it's because of the Christmas event, that's why. So, before we turn this in, let's see if I can actually talk to some people, especially a couple of ones in particular.
Got a contract with your name on it!
I hate funerals. Oh, don't get me wrong, I respected Cao Fang as much as the next guy. I just don't like standing around when there's work to be done. We goblins know how to pay our respects. We just don't overpay. You know what I'm saying? You know what? I think old Cao Fang would have agreed. I'm gonna miss him. But I ain't letting the job that he started go unfinished. And that is why Gazlowe is awesome.
Business is booming!
Geira?
The heart of the Maghar is pure and strong.
Sylvanas was a strong war chief, but she was not the Horde's war chief. Everything that she did was for herself. Cao Fang sacrificed everything that he had for the Horde. Strength and honor. A true war chief must have both. That is a lesson that I will never forget. Pretty sure this is supposed to be a big moment in her character growth for Geira.
Fight with honor.
Khan?
Die with glory.
I'll be listening.
Never had a good feeling about this war, man. I've been following Never mind.
I've been following orders trying to make the best of a bad situation. But I always thought that Sylvanas be having the Horde's best interests at heart. I was wrong. Should have trusted me instincts. Should have done more for Saurfang. Too late for that now. Loa, guide us. We gonna need it.
And don't be getting mixed up in the voodoo.
Baladash, Malanore.
A part of me will always wonder if this would have happened had I acted sooner. If I had confronted Sylvanas in the early days of the war. If Teldrassil hadn't burned. It is not an easy thing to watch a dear friend tread a dark path. To recognize when they have gone astray. I thought I knew her, and Saurfang has paid the price for my error in judgment. I have tasked the Farstriders with tracking down both Sylvanas and Nathanos, though I am unsure that we can find them at all. They were Farstriders themselves once, but I cannot simply stand idle while they are out there. Not anymore.
Silvermoon will know
Orthamar's
prosperity
awesome.
again.
The Nightwell calls to me.
I knew that Saurfang for only a brief time, but I respected him for his courage. It is not easy to challenge your leaders, even when you are in the right. He saved many lives today. If we survive against N'Zoth, we will all owe our future to his sacrifice.
Anratha Adore.
Greetings, my friend.
Ah, poor Zakan. Saurfang. I knew this could happen. That things could be playing out this way, but that don't make it any easier. He always been a hero to me, inspired me to be better, to be stronger, just like my father. Spirits guide them both. I wonder if they be watching me right now, waiting to see who I become. It be time I made 'em proud. Never gonna rest till I do.
The Horde be our family.
You are welcome here, champion.
My people are new to the Horde, and there have been times in this war when I wondered if joining was a mistake. But then I would think of Saurfang, of what he represented, of the Horde that he fought for. That is the Horde that my people joined. That is the Horde that we must strive to be. I can think of no better way to honor his memory than by continuing that journey.
Together, we are High Mountain.
May the Earth Mother smile upon you.
Saurfang, were it not for his courage, I would have died at the hands of Sylvanas. It is a debt that I can never repay, except by honoring his memory and carrying his legacy forward. The Horde cannot remain divided. We must reflect on all that we have endured and choose our next course of action with strength and wisdom, united as one.
Without honor, we have nothing.
I don't think there's anyone else to talk to.
Loktar.
He will be buried in Nagrand, as he would have wanted. I do not know what lies ahead for the Horde, but I know that we will face it together.
Saurfang and I spoke much of honor in the Horde, of our path forward from this crossroads. I never thought we would have to walk it without him. It falls to us to decide what the Horde will become. Azeroth needs our strength now more than ever. Grieve for Saurfang, and make ready to defend the world he died for.
Akamagash, Varrock Saurfang. Let me go ahead and throw up that new title I just got, Veteran of the Fourth War. Yep.
For the Horde!
Okay. And with that, the war campaign has officially come to an end. Now, there are supposed to be some other little bits here and there that I believe you're able to find in the city of Orgrimmar. Oh my gosh. Okay, I have to do this. Especially with the Santa hat on, it just works perfectly. Ho, 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 ho. Mush, mush. They're not mushing. I guess I'm just gonna sit here. Never mind, there they go. Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas, Orgrimmar. Ho, 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 ho. I'm off to deliver the presents to all the little boys and girls, and little orcs and trolls and such. And then I will run by Stormwind, and hopefully they won't shoot me down. Ho, 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 ho. I cannot tell you how giddy this is making me feel, being able to do this. This is wonderful. I'm flying around in Orgrimmar in Santa's sleigh. Ugh. Oh my goodness, this is fantastic. I have such a big smile on my face right now from this. So, I'm just gonna end it here with me doing this. So, that is it for the war campaign, and pretty much the next thing I could do before the release of 8.3 is basically work on helping deal with what's going on in Mechagon, because in the story we still have to stop King Mechagon, because if he follows through on his plan, we're all doomed. You know, the Curse of Flesh and all that. Yeah, that's not good. Especially when we have to focus on N'Zoth. We can't be focusing on both Mechagon and N'Zoth. Now, gameplay-wise, alright, I guess that's it. Alright. Alright, I'll get out. I'll let someone else have a turn, because I'm sure someone else wants to have a turn. That was wonderful. I'm so happy about that. But, gameplay-wise, it's probably going to be easier for me to actually do the Mechagon thing when 0.3 comes out, because I've heard there's going to be a vendor available that will be selling 420 gear as a that is intended to be as a catch-up mechanic type of vendor. So I may have to resort to going to that vendor and getting that kind of gear in order to be able to get to at least a 420 gear score, so that I can be able to not only have a better shot of actually making it through that entire dungeon, but also for groups to be able to be like, yeah, sure, you can come along. Because, I could make a group, but then they'll be like, are you kidding? Because they'll look at my gear score or whatever, and then they'll just be like, yeah, forget that. So, it's an unfortunate thing, but that's just kind of the reality of the whole situation, which is very unfortunate. But so, I don't know. I'll see what I can do. I'll see if we can somehow pull off doing the Operation Mechagon dungeon before 8.3 comes out, or if I have to just wait until that comes out, and then we start it, and then at some point while dealing with N'Zoth, we deal with King Mechagon. I'm not sure, so, but, yeah, I guess we'll be holding off for a little while, but that's fine, because in terms of more Warcraft stuff, there's still more stuff that I can bring to you guys. Obviously, you have seen this from the Horde perspective. If you want to see it from the Alliance perspective, I have made a separate playlist where I'm going to be playing through Kultiris as my Night Elf Demon Hunter. So some of that I'll probably be able to queue up as a tank. That'll be interesting, actually having to do some of those other things as a tank. Although I could just go in as DPS, but as you guys know, it's far easier to actually get into things queuing up as a tank than it is as a DPS. Plus, I actually enjoy and am more comfortable with the tank spec of the Demon Hunter than the DPS. So if you want to see that perspective and that playthrough, it's a separate playlist. You can head on over and see that. At some point, I will try and get to work on that, especially since I get rewards for doing it on both factions, including mounts, which, of course, is nice. So, until then, I hope you guys will stay tuned,